Good morning and welcome. I am Anna Wesley, a member of the board at the Unitarian Universalist Church in Reston. Whether you're on Zoom or here in the church sanctuary, we are so glad you are here with us this morning. No matter how old you are or how young you are, wherever you are or on your spiritual journey, however you identify, and whomever you love, know you are welcome here. In accordance with our tradition here at UUCR, some of our services are lay-led. This gives us the opportunity to hear diverse perspectives and new ideas for some of our congregants. Our service today will be led by Alan Kramer. Alan is a proud member of our wonderful choir. As a composer and playwright, he contributed one of his plays for our play reading at our recent auction, and will be teaching a songwriting class starting in January. We are delighted to have Alan here this morning to lead the service, which is entitled The Accidental Samaritan. Announcements. Mark your calendar for the alternative gift market, which is this coming Saturday, December 7th. Make a donation to charity instead of buying traditional gifts, or simply round out your charitable gift giving for the year. Items are available for as little as $10, and a kids list is available for our younger shoppers. Representatives from local and international charities will be on hand to chat with you about the wonderful work they are doing in our community and around the world. And new this year, coffee and pastries to the early bird shoppers who come before 11 a.m. and Ukrainian handicrafts to support relief efforts in Ukraine. In addition, online shopping is up and running. Just go to uusreston.org/AGM and click the Shop AGM online button. Okay, Cynthia Young, our music director, will be leading a Caroling for Our Community event on Sunday, December 8th. All ages are welcome. No practice is needed. And we will be singing classic Christmas carols. Really? No practice? You sure about that? Okay. We will carpool to 2 local retirement communities. Please meet us at 1 p.m. in the UCR parking lot. If you have any questions, feel free to contact Cynthia. Okay, one more extra announcement. I'm going to remind you of the Scandinavian dinner on the 14th. The sign-up sheet is going to be in the foyer. If you have an announcement for the Sunday service, please email to Harry by Friday each week. If you have an article for the e-blast, please email to Harry by Tuesday each week. Now, let us center ourselves for worship. Whew, I need to slow down. Please take some deep, quieting breaths with me. Let us enter into our time of worship together as we enjoy this morning's prelude.
Wait. We gotta wait for mine. Ready?
Oh, man. Good morning. I'm Lesley Tyson, part of your worship associate team, and as this is a lay-led service, I will be assisting in this service. Our opening words this morning come from Penny Hackett Evans. Each of us brings a separate truth here. We bring the truth of our own life, our own story. We don't come as empty vessels, but as full people, each with our own story and our own truth. We seek to add to truths and add to our stories. This room is rich with truth, rich with experience. All manner of people are here. Needy, joyful, frightened, bored, fulfilled, grateful. We all bring our truth with us. May we recognize the truth and the story in other lives than our own. May we hear and honor the truths that we will bring as we gather together. Together we have truths. Together we have stories. Together we are a community. Our chalice lighting this morning is adapted from the words of Betsy Dar. Our chalice, may the light of this chalice give light and warmth to our community when we are joyful and when we despair. And may we feel the warmth spread from our circle to wider and wider circles until all know they belong to the circle of life.
We have a tradition where we sing our covenant together every Sunday as a way of recommitting to each other. Love is the spirit of this church. We will remain seated while we sing our covenant together. And if you are here this morning for the first time, we invite you to accept this song as our blessing to you.
morning. Now is the time for all ages, so if you're feeling young of body or young of spirit, I invite you to come forward. Our story today is by an unknown author, but it was found in beginwithyes.com and in our November Soul Matters packet. One day, a young woman was at the airport waiting for her trip home when she heard there was going to be a delay. I wonder how many people are experiencing something like that today. She decided to go get a small package of chocolate chip. All right, to eat while she was waiting. She got the cookies, sat down in the lounge, and began to read her book. She reached over to the bag of cookies on the arm of her chair and took one and began to eat it. Then the man sitting next to her took a cookie from the bag and ate it. What do you think she thought? And how do you think she felt? Well, she felt irritated. She wasn't happy about that at all. But she didn't say anything. She took another cookie. And the young man took a cookie too. Every time she took a cookie, the man took another cookie. She was getting very, very angry. But they didn't say anything to each other, and they didn't look at each other. She couldn't believe how rude he was being. Finally, there was one last cookie left. The man broke it in half and left her half in the bag. At this point, she was really angry. She loaded up all of her things and moved. Soon, her flight was called, and she got on the airplane, settled in her seat, and went into her purse to look for something, probably earphones. And her heart sank. What do you think she found? She found her bag of cookies, unopened and untouched. The man hadn't been stealing her cookies, she had been taking his. She felt very ashamed, and she also felt overwhelmed by his kindness. Oh, I hope we'll remember this story and remember that kindness is a choice that we can make each and every day. This morning, downstairs, we're going to be making cookies. And this will be a way to spread kindness because we'll be giving them to people at the hypothermia shelter. Anyone who is in 12th grade or younger is invited to join us. We'll now sing them out with Go With Joy. And the lyrics will be
Now is the time in our service where we share our joys and concerns so that no one ever has to hold them alone. If you're joining us remotely this morning, you may wish to light a real or virtual candle wherever you are this morning to mark what is on your heart. As members of the in-person congregations, place stones in the water here in the sanctuary. If those of you at home would like to share what is on your heart today in the congressional chat on the screen, please write to all attendees. And please remember what you will share will be public. Those at home may then read others' joys and concerns shared in the chat, and then enter your own time of reflection and prayer as we listen to our meditation music, Meditation on the Spirit of Life by Alan Kramer, as played by Diane Carsten-Pelak. Please come forward. Let us be one in prayer and meditation. Spirit of life and love that so faithfully animates our creation, we are grateful for this community that is with us in both times of joy and sorrow. We hold in our hearts this morning all who are facing any hardship or difficulty, those who are grieving, facing illness or disability in themselves or friends or loved ones. In particular this morning, we hold in our hearts and prayers those whose joys and concerns are still too tender to share, and all those in the world facing war and famine and the long recovery from disasters. For them, we light this candle. Let us be silent in prayer.
As a self-funded church, UUCR relies on the generosity of its members and friends to fund daily operations and to ensure that the church and its resources are here for us and others, now and in the future. Pledges support our worship and music programs, our religious education program, programs for membership and friends, community outreach, and connections to Unitarian Universalism. We now invite you to support the work of UU Reston by making your donation to the collection plate if you are here in the sanctuary, or at the link on the slide and in the chat box if you are online. Thank you for your generosity and support of our beloved spiritual home.
The day before Thanksgiving, several years ago, I was out shopping. A long list of places to go, things to buy, standing in an endless supermarket line. Finally, it was my turn. But ahead of me was a woman struggling with food stamps and clutching a few rumpled dollar bills. Way too many items in her basket. She'd put things down, then pick them up, the checkout person trying desperately to help her find the magic number of items to match her limited resources. I could have wrung her neck. Come on already. Finally, I stepped forward. I wasn't sure what I was going to do until I did it. I opened my mouth and offered to buy the additional items she had. What was it going to cost me? Maybe $10, but it was worth it just to get rid of her. I had things to do, places to go. I paid her bill. She smiled, thanked me, and left. The checkout person smiled. I turned around, proud mostly that I had unclogged the machine. Then I noticed the faces of the people behind me in line, the admiring faces. As I started to push my things forward, I received a warm pat on the back from the man behind me, a hug from his otherwise grumpy wife. You would have thought I was Mother Teresa returning from curing lepers. No, I wanted to say, don't look at me like that. I was just trying to get rid of her so I could finish my shopping. Anyway, I bought my groceries, went to my car, turned on the engine, and almost started to cry. I hadn't cried since I was maybe 7. What had I done? I was a fraud. What exactly? The fact is, I could have changed checkout lines. I could have complained to the manager. I could have told the lady, please hurry up. But I didn't. Without thinking about it, I used a very small amount of money to help someone else. She didn't ask for it. It wasn't like the contributions I made, always planned, always conscious. I just did it. Was this an act of generosity or one of selfishness? I've mulled this question over 1,000 times since, and finally come to the conclusion that it was both. It was the right time and the right place for both the woman and for me, and we both benefited from it equally. We tend to think of Thanksgiving as a time to give thanks to someone or something for what we've been given. We thank God, nature, whatever we believe in. This is important and should not be limited to late November. But I'd like to focus this morning on what it means to be thankful, which is not the same thing. What does that mean, thankful? Full of thanks? Does it mean we have so much thanks in us that it sloshes all over the place and splatters everything around us? Of course not. But since we have no concept of being thank-empty, there must be a certain, perhaps measurable amount of thanks that we should be able to perceive in some way. But how do we know what that is? After all, there are no markings on our spirit that indicate how close to thankful we are. We have such a mechanism for Thanksgiving dinner. We have this food full sensor in our gut. No more, it says. One more bite and I'm going to burst. How do we know when we're about to reach that point? It's not an analytical process, it's visceral, systemic. The sensor tells us you've got room for one piece of pie, but that's it. We may be tempted to reach for another piece anyway, but our gut has veto power, and it has spoken. We are full, and we must stop. Oprah Winfrey said, be thankful for what you have. You'll end up having more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you will never, ever have enough. In many ways, it's easier to identify things in the world not to be thankful for. We see them in front of us every day in the papers, on TV. Our minds process them endlessly sometimes. Our souls ache. Our store of thankfulness should balance that out, at least in part, but the flood of bad news can feel endless, while our store of thankfulness feels inadequate to the challenge. But we do have it. It resides in a kind of thank tank, a spiritual repository each of us has, where we accumulate things for which, even if we don't know it at the time, we should be thankful. The challenge is to figure out how to use that store of positivity as a counterbalance to the darkness and the sadness we experience around us. The Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, gives us one way to do that. Not only do we think about and atone for whatever sins we may have committed over the past year, but Yom Kippur has a special prayer, the Kol Nidre, in which we ask God's forgiveness for sins we may commit over the next year. It's not that we have been or expect to be sinful. Sin is something else that doesn't lend itself to precise measurement. What Kol Nidre asks us to do is to look inside and tap into the store of humanity we hold and use that as a kind of line of credit against future failings. We admit in advance that we will be and act imperfectly in this imperfect world we inhabit. We admit this not only to ourselves, but to God. Christian philosophy has its own version of this. In the early 1930s, Reinhold Niebuhr, an American Christian theologian, wrote a prayer that virtually everyone knows. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. In simple terms, it's an admission of our imperfection, our limitations, our humanity. But it's also a call to action. I can't change everything it says, even when I know there are things that need to be changed, but I can change some things, and I should do something about those. Serenity, courage, and wisdom. None of these can be measured precisely, but God, or whoever or whatever serves that role in our lives, can help us accept and find serenity in that limitation, just as the Kol Nidre prayer helps us learn to admit and accept our frailties. The author Sarah Van Brethnock put it this way: both abundance and lack exist simultaneously in our lives as parallel realities. It is always our conscious choice which secret garden we will tend. When we choose not to focus on what is missing from our lives, but are grateful for the abundance that's present: love, health, family, friends, work, the joys of nature, and personal pursuits that bring us happiness. The wasteland of illusion falls away, and we experience heaven on earth. The UUCR choir sings a piece that opens with the words, "We have all the love that we need." We did that a few weeks ago for prelude and postlude. We go on to sing similar verses about having all the joy, peace, hope, etc. It's a wonderful song. Being joyful, peaceful, and hopeful are concepts we can relate to, and we should take the time to appreciate those qualities in our lives, which is why each verse ends with hallelujah and blessed be. But the song doesn't really mean that we have all the joy or love or whatever we could possibly need. It means that we should take the moment to experience the level of fullness that we do have right now, whatever is happening around us. But the song is about more than that. However full of joy or hope we may be, just being aware of it is not enough. There's one more step we need to take. We need to do something with that store of fullness. But what? The song suggests a simple answer: to change the world. Now it makes sense. Love and joy and hope by themselves are inadequate if all we do is hold on to them, like in a long-term savings account. We need to do more than just feel joyful for its own sake. We need to invest that joy in something larger than ourselves, to use it to touch others, to create change in the world. In the ceremony of joys and concerns we just did here, we line up to place stones in the bowl to share our joys, our sense of being joyful. But we balance that by also sharing our concerns. Joys and concerns are similar in that we feel them in our heart, in our mind, in our spirit, but they're very different. When we share our feeling of joyfulness, we open our hearts to take in more. In a real sense, that process of opening up increases the amount of joy we can actually receive. It's different with our concerns. We have no definition of concernfulness, nor does expressing our concerns make them go away. There isn't any kind of blocking mechanism against other concerns that will come today, tomorrow, or whenever. No Thanksgiving dinner-like censor that says, we have had our fill, no more. Concerns come as they come, and we just have to deal with them. We may place stones in the bowl for both, but joys and concerns are existentially different, however much the ceremony brings them together. I sometimes wonder what would happen if we didn't empty the joys and concerns bowl every week. If we just let them pile up, stone after stone, year after year, how high would it go? What would happen to the thoughts and dreams and fears and worries we deposit there? After all, we use the same stones. 100 years from now, who would know? Might the stones talk to each other? In the meantime, sort out who was there for what purpose? Or might they join forces and support each other? Here, let me offer you one of my joys to ease one of your concerns. Might we all gain some level of serenity that way? So on this Thanksgiving weekend, after too much turkey and too many pieces of pie, I've been thinking about what it really means to be thankful. I keep looking inside, as I do on Yom Kippur, for the balance, for the serenity that allows me to tap into my own hopefulness, to empower me to go out and change the world. Here's what I've learned. First off, every deposit I made in my think tank over a lifetime matters, even if I wasn't fully aware of it at the time. It was because of those deposits that I had enough to spare to change that one little piece of the world of that woman struggling with food stamps in that one place on that one day at that one moment. Secondly, I've learned that I do have a thankfulness sensor, even though I can't always read it. I didn't need to read it, didn't need to think at all. The sensor took over and did what was right, whatever I thought I was doing at the moment. Trust your sensor, I tell you. The right thing in this world isn't the thing we do when we're trying to do it. It's the thing we do when we're not trying. It's not just how we commit to causes, but how we treat people ahead of us and behind us in the great checkout line of life. It's the way we act because it's become so much part of our nature that it's somehow natural, organic, unexceptional, human. Finally, I've learned that everything we do matters. Every contact with another person, how we treat each other, how we pass along our values. It's how we talk to and listen to each other, how we comfort those who need comfort, and how we sing our children off to religious school every Sunday. It all matters. Anne Frank, as usual, summed it up quite simply. No one has ever become poor by giving. So on this Thanksgiving weekend, may we all be full of love, of joy, of faith, of commitment, and of leftover turkey. Let us all go out, each in our own way, and change the world. Hallelujah, and blessed be.
Thank you, Alan. Our closing hymn is number 126, Come, Thou Fount of Every Blessing. Please rise in body or spirit and join us.
Streams of mercy never ceasing.
Our benediction this morning is from Romans. It's the benediction that we always used to say at the Unitarian Universalist Church in Connecticut that I was a member of before coming down here. Go out into the world in peace. Have courage. Hold on to what is good. Return to no one evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Honor all beings. Go in peace.
Our chalice is extinguished, but we must carry the flame because its light lives on in the minds and hearts and souls of each one of us. Carry that flame with you as you leave this place and share it with those you know, with those you love, and most especially with those you have yet to meet. Please enjoy our postlude by Alan Kramer.
When you've cleared away the dishes and you've thrown away the trash, when your visit's at its limits and you're running low on cash, when you've seen the hottest movie and you tried the latest style, try love for a while. When your daughter drives you crazy and your grandson is a brat, when your dog just ate your homework and you like to kill the cat, when what you grew up knowing, it turns out isn't true, try love, it just might get you through. Try love, you could do worse. You might get halfway through this song and forget the second verse. Try love, it's not a magic cure, but it's something in a world where nothing else is sure. When you've hated all the people that they told you should hate, who stood for things you didn't like or had the nerve to not be straight, when you're running out of folks who don't believe the same as you, try love, what else can you do? Love your husband, love your wife, love your children, love your life, love the earth and all that dwell therein. If that's too much to ask, at least begin. When you've gotten through the pain of one more sad defeat, and okay, you may be lonely, but you're standing on your feet, and you think that finally no one can make you hurt again, say one last amen, and then try love, it might just work. Since you know that deep inside, sometimes you've acted like a jerk, try love, it's not too late. You might be tempted to give up, but wait, love the world, yeah, it's a mess, and no one's gonna promise you success, but in the end, remember you've got more, when lots of folks have so much less. When you wake up in the morning and it's rainy and it's gray, when the news just makes you mad, you've forgotten how to pray, remember that today is a brand new day, and there may still be love In time there could be love. Who knows, you might find love. What else is there to say?